Mesopotamia, one of the earliest civilizations in the world, covered the area between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in modern-day Iraq. Due to its early contribution to writing, agriculture, and complex social organization, it is considered the birthplace of civilization. Known as the land between two rivers, because of its location between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, Mesopotamia got the name from the Greek words mesos for middle and potamos for river. Mesopotamian cities began to develop around 4000 BC, possibly even earlier. The first civilization is believed to have emerged in ancient Mesopotamia. In 4th millennium BC, Mesopotamian cities advanced writing, farming, and organizing their societies and their own religion beliefs. Religion in Mesopotamia significantly influenced daily life, with strong beliefs about gods impacting daily routines and everyday life. However, over a period exceeding 3 millennia, Mesopotamian religion was everything but simple and unified. It is not a straightforward or simplistic belief system. It rather developed and became increasingly complex, with numerous gods, traditions, and rituals influencing the daily lives of those who live there. The religious beliefs of the region were shaped by the Sumerians and Akkadians. These cultures had different backgrounds that eventually converged when distinct groups merged over time, while their precise beginnings are still somewhat unknown. The religion practiced was polytheistic, featuring a vast array of gods and goddesses. Some estimates place the number of deities worshipped in this belief system at above 500. The stories about these deities transformed over time, with changes in their properties and their stories, as they merged together and blended with the other gods. Mesopotamian religion is primarily described through writings, monuments, and buildings, which offer valuable insights into their religious practices and beliefs. In ancient Mesopotamia, gods were believed to be the creators of the universe and rulers of the world. People believed their duty was to obey the will of the gods and worship them, viewing humans as servants of gods. The gods were depicted as anthropomorphic, with human-like form and stories resembling human emotions and human behavior. The people of Mesopotamia rationalized tragedies as divine actions to balance civilization's overpopulation, utilizing storms, droughts, or floods to restore the balance. Religion's narratives were flexible, undergoing changes across different periods, making it challenging to create one unique and unified narrative. god Anu, also known as An in Sumerian, was revered as the founder of the gods' dynasty and was associated with the concept of sky and heaven. Another important god was Enlil, who was Anu's son. As he inherited Anu, Enlil was given the power to rule and oversaw all the other gods in the Pantheon. Enlil was associated with air, and he was worshipped primarily in the city of Nippur. Shamash in Akkad, or Utu in Sumer, was regarded as the god of the sun. Sin, or Nana, was revered as the god of the moon. Ea, or Enki, the god of wisdom, was the god that played a crucial role in the creation of humankind. Ishtar, or Inanna, was commonly known as the mother of the gods and was associated to love, sexuality, and warfare. Marduk, established as the main god in Babylon, replaced Enlil in importance. He was the son of Enki and was associated with the themes of creation, justice, and agriculture in the city of Babylon. Most cities in Mesopotamia were aligned with a particular patron god. City of Uruk honored gods Anu and Ishtar. City of Eridu revered god Enki. City of Ur worshipped god Sin or Nana. In Ashur, the main god was of course Ashur. Myths provided important insights into worldview of the Mesopotamian people, explaining the origins of the world, humanity, and the relationships between gods and mortals. We will talk about three myths in this chapter: the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and Atrahasis. All three of them provide important insight into Mesopotamian beliefs. Each of these myths offer unique perspective on creation, human existence, and the interaction between gods and mankind, enhancing our understanding of Mesopotamian mythology. Atrahasis is a myth from around 18th century BC. It is the story about the creation of the world and the struggles of a hero named Atrahasis. This myth is one of the few flood stories from ancient Babylon that has survived. The Tablet 1 of Atrahasis contains the creation myth featuring the gods Anu, Enlil, and Enki. Enlil, the god of earth, created humans. The text includes legends about overpopulation and plagues. Enlil causes famine and drought because of overpopulation, and its aim is to reduce human population. Following that, Enlil decided to wipe out humanity with a flood. Enlil's plan to eradicate humanity through a devastating flood prompts Enki to intervene and warn a hero, Atrahasis, advising him to construct a boat for survival. Atrahasis and his family, along with a group of animals, board the boat and close its doors as the storm and flood begin. After continuous floodwaters that lasted for 7 days, the flooding eventually goes down. Atrahasis expresses gratitude to the gods for his survival by providing them with sacrificial gifts. However, Enlil is filled with rage and dissatisfaction at Enki's interfering. The Atrahasis myth portrays gods with emotions just like humans, showing their anger and kindness. It is also a way to highlight how powerful Mesopotamian gods were believed to be. These gods were not just distant forces. They felt and acted with a lot of human-like characteristics, which made their immense power and influence even more striking. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which dates back to around 2100 BC, revolves around the mythical king of Uruk. The earliest surviving version of this epic dates back to the 18th century BC. The story starts with Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, and Enkidu, a man created by the gods to keep Gilgamesh from oppressing the people of Uruk. Gilgamesh exhausts his people through games, tests of strength, and forced labor on building various city projects. In response to this terror, the gods create a creature equal to Gilgamesh who can stop his oppression. Therefore, the gods create Enkidu, a primitive man covered in hair who lives in the wild with animals. Enkidu challenges Gilgamesh to a battle, but Gilgamesh defeats Enkidu. Despite the odds, this contest creates a strong bond between them, so Gilgamesh and Enkidu become friends. United, they ventured on a 6-day expedition to the legendary Cedar Forest with the goal of taking down the Guardian, Humbaba the Terrible, and gathering the Holy Cedar. In an intense battle, the heroes emerge victorious, defeating Humbaba. After defeating Humbaba, Enkidu Gilgamesh also killed the Bull of Heaven, resulting in the god's decision to sentence Enkidu to death and kill him. Deeply distressed by Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh embarks on a challenging quest to meet Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim, among the few survivors of the Great Flood, and his wife were granted immortality by the gods, leading Gilgamesh to believe that he could also discover the secret of eternal life. When Gilgamesh met Utnapishtim, Utnapishtim told him the story about how the gods decided to send a great flood, but god Enki aided Utnapishtim by advising him to construct a boat. This story closely resembles the flood story depicted in the Epic of Atrahasis. However, the Epic of Gilgamesh version emphasizes that Enlil's gift of eternal life to Utnapishtim was a unique and exceptional gift rather than a common occurrence. Gilgamesh discovers that humans are destined to experience death, a fate determined by the gods, who have reserved life's eternal essence only for themselves. At the conclusion of his quest, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk as a significantly wiser man. At this point, the Gilgamesh Epic's first 11 tablets come to a close, and his transformative journey comes to an end. Tablet number 12, which dates from a later period and depicts Enkidu as alive, modifies the original story. This tablet story tells the tale of Enkidu's trip to the underworld, departing from the continuity of the previous 11 tables. This epic had an impact on religious and heroic tales in many cultures. Gilgamesh became a model for heroic epics in many cultures, making this story really important across various religions and traditions. Babylonian epic Enuma Elish, written around 7th century BC, discusses the creation of god Marduk, his battle with goddess Tiamat, his victory, and Marduk's rising to the position of primary god. The story explains how the world was created and talks about a battle between gods, centering on the tribute given to Marduk. When the battle between Marduk and Tiamat was over, Marduk split Tiamat's body in half. He formed the sky from one half, creating places for gods Anu, Enlil, and Ea. Marduk also established the days in the calendar. He created a moon, the day and night. Rainfall from the clouds he made formed the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. He created humans and chose Babylon as a sacred city to honor Marduk's name. In this epic, but in a broader Mesopotamian religious belief as well, people are portrayed as the gods' servants. Humans are mortal beings made to fulfill the duties that the gods have given to them. There are some obvious similarities between religious motives in Enuma Elish and other cultures, like Egyptian, Phoenician, Christianity. The recurring presence of the flood story in Mesopotamian religion beliefs highlights its importance as a symbol of creation, divine intervention, and interaction between gods and humans. The places where the god's will was respected the most were temples. Temples were sacred shelters where believers worshipped gods, with the people's mission to appease the gods through worship and sacrifice. There was a clear hierarchy in the Mesopotamian world, with the gods at the top, rulers right below them, and the rest of the population at the bottom. Although this structure contains diverse subsections, this class structure provides an overview of how Mesopotamians interpreted the world's hierarchy. The temples where gods were celebrated were famous ziggurats. Ziggurats were ancient Mesopotamian complexes. They were religious centers dedicated to specific gods, with a series of stacked platforms and a shrine or temple at the top. Ziggurats were important in Mesopotamian religious practices as they served as symbolic ties between heaven and earth. Ziggurats are buildings where rituals and ceremonies were performed to honor the gods and ensure their favor for the city or region. The most famous ziggurats are the ones in the cities of Ur and Babylon. The story of Babylon Tower, a place seen as a connection between heaven and earth, was most likely inspired by the ziggurat in Babylon. It was used in ceremonies to honor gods such as Marduk, demonstrating how important it was in their beliefs. Music was also an integral part of worship ceremonies in Mesopotamian religious and cultural practices. It was used in rituals to invoke the presence of gods, promoting a relationship between the divine and the mortal realms. Special festivals were held to honor specific gods, honoring their power, blessings, and mythological stories. Extensive rituals, offerings, and communal celebrations marked these gatherings, strengthening the bond between people and their deities. Furthermore, the Mesopotamians developed astrology, interpreting the god's will by viewing astronomical movements as divine messages. They believed that studying the stars and planets could provide insights into the divine plan, guiding decisions and providing insights into the future. Astrology played an important role in their culture, influencing many aspects of life, such as governance and agriculture. Mesopotamian culture had a lasting impact on many later civilizations. Its contributions laid a foundation for the numerous civilizations' beliefs, practices, and intellectual pursuits, deeply shaping the course of human civilization for centuries to come. However, following the conquest of Alexander the Great on Persia, the once thriving Mesopotamian civilization began to decline. The influence of this ancient civilization was widespread. Mesopotamian religious beliefs left an imprint on later civilizations, influencing Greek and Roman mythologies and religious practices. Furthermore, Mesopotamian contributions were invaluable in the advancement of disciplines such as astrology, mathematics, and philosophy. Their influence can even be found in modern religions such as Christianity and Islam, where traces of Mesopotamian religious concepts and practices can be noticed even today.